Alright, Bahamas. Let's go to work, let's go to work, let's go to work, let's go to work. Bahamas. You see the newspaper article up there? Bahamas, this one could be long. Bahamas, this episode could be long. This one could be long. You see that up there? Bahamas, you know this one could be long. Now, Bahamas, here's the situation. This is a situation, Bahamas. I was driving down the Eastern Road. It was a Tuesday morning. I even remember the day. I was driving down the Eastern Road, and lo and behold, I see the newspaper article. The guy was holding up the newspaper. And I usually don't buy the newspaper, but I buy the newspaper that day. I buy the newspaper, Bahamas, and lo and behold, it says the police chief say crime down 28%. Bahamas, this one gonna be long. Somebody should have told the police chief, say, guess what? You got this big head dude who's come on twice on Sundays, 10 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. He's come on twice. And he doing a whole series on weak men. I don't suggest you make that statement, Mr. Police Chief. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have lied to the Bahamian people. Bahamas, this one could be long. I let you know right now. You see that article? Oh, this one could be long. Bahamas, there's no way this episode can go right. This gotta go left. You know what? You know, people say this one going left. Buddy, this one going left. You see, if you don't laugh about it, you can cry. So I gotta laugh with this one. But this episode going left. This episode is the reason why ZNS is say these are not the express written consent of ZNS Channel 13 and by extension the Broadcasting Corporation of Bahamas. I know it out my head, out my heart. I know it at the top of my head. Bahamas, this one gotta go left. Let's talk about this. Alright, let me be serious now. Bahamas. Crime down 28%, and we talking about weak men. So this can lead us right into the scripture we talking about today. But first, we got to deal with this. We got to cook this one. We got to deal with this one. Bahamas. This news article says absolutely nothing. Let me tell you the truth. Because see, they can tell you the truth, but I can tell you the truth. The police chief says crime is down 28%, says zero. The only thing it says is that I should be more fearful. If I was scared before, I need to be scared now. Bahamas. It's premature. It's impossible to compare any year-over-year statistics. Any statistician would tell you that. It's premature. It's impossible for this to tell you, you know what? This year could have less murders than last year because of this statistic. This statistic don't even make no sense. Bahamas, they shouldn't have put this up. They're just lying to you. If they wanted y'all to feel safe, Bahamas, this right here should tell you you should feel more endangered. It's a problem. In fact, you know what I can do? To segue into this episode, I can read a little bit of this article so we can get right into this. So let me actually interpret this for y'all because I got some time. Let me interpret this for y'all. In fact, I don't need to interpret. I can interpret off the top of my head. Let me tell you what this said. Police chief said crime is down 28%. Let me tell you what that means, Bahamas. That only mean one thing. That means, buddy, I trying to keep my job. And just because murder's up, that don't mean unemployment should go up with me. So I trying to keep my job. That's the only thing he's trying to tell you. I trying to keep my job. That's it. That's the only thing that me in Bahamas. We talking about weak men, and we starting off with this one right here. This one go deep. I telling you, this is why they make that statement at the beginning of the show. This show going left. This starting off bad already, Bahamas. This one gonna be long. Long. All right, Bahamas. Let me read a little bit for you, and then we can segue into the scripture. And listen to what it says. Police chief says crime is down 28%. So Bahamian words, or in Bahamian terms, I try to keep my job, buddy. I gotta tell you something. A spot of murders primarily on New Providence. Hold on, let's stop right there. A spot. What a spot mean? What the heck does a spot mean? Bahamas, we don't talk like that. Let's keep it real. A bunch of people dead. It's as simple as that. That's the only thing a spot can mean. A spot of murders in New Providence mean a bunch of people dead. Nah, so in fact, let me interpret that for you. What the police chief is basically saying is this. All these killings happening in Nassau because Nassauvians, they killing up each other. So guess what? If you're an Abaconian, if you're a Lutheran, if you're from the Family Islands, you can sleep well at night. But if you're from Nassau, oh, woe be to you. If you're from the unlucky populace, or the most people who's sitting in Nassau, where the majority of the population is, sleep with one eye open, buddy. Because there ain't nothing happening for you all people in Nassau. And what else did it say? So a spider murder, so a bunch of people dead in Nassau, drove the murder count up sharply last week. But the police commissioner reported yesterday that despite this fact, now let me tell you what fact mean. Fact mean that, buddy, they got this all over social media. People dying, bodies floating in canals. We can't even deny this. People dying in 24 hours, multiple. Come on. So what they saying is this is fact. We can't deny it. We can't hide it. We can't manipulate the numbers. Because really, if they want you to know the true murder rate, they would add half of the people on the missing persons report. So get all the half of the people who you all call as missing persons, add them to the murder rate, and then read up the true number. But anyway, we ain't getting into all that. Bahamas, I tell you this one will be long. This one gotta go left. Bahamas, they lied to you, Bahamas, and then they put me on TV. You know that, right? Right before the news. All right, Bahamas. So the simple situation is, what they saying is, let me read a few again. But the police commissioner reported yesterday that despite this fact, so the fact of the matter is, we got them on video, we got them on camera, we got them on WhatsApp, we got them all over social media. So it's a fact. You can't hide it. Can't manipulate the numbers. Serious crimes have decreased. So what is it saying? It's saying because serious crimes have decreased, what you need to understand is, it's a simple layman's terms. Buddy, last year was worse. Now, I don't know if that's something to brag about. But what they saying is, year over year, crimes have decreased. Last year was worse, so you better be lucky that you in 2023, because if you're still in 2022, oh, don't go back to the COVID years. Oh my gosh. So anyway, Bahamas, let's get to the point of the matter. We talking about weak man. I'm being serious now. The very definition of a weak man ain't the fact that a man is willing to lie to you or not. That ain't it. Because I don't think the police commissioner wanted to lie to us. He didn't want to lie. The problem is he was pressured into this. See, we got to get to the why. Why did they tell the lie? See, that's what does make you weak. It's the why about all this. And the simple fact of the matter is we got big grown men who get pressured into these things. Bahamas, you can't see this man was pressured. He get churning the feed. He got to keep his job. He was pressured. The man was pressured, Bahamas. We talking about peer pressure. What I'm trying to tell you is this, Bahamas. Come on, we going in deep now. It's one thing for when your child leaving the house and you say to that child, don't succumb to peer pressure. That's what my mom used to tell me. She used to say, Danny, you the head, not the tail. Don't succumb to peer pressure. But ladies, now before your husband leave the house, you got to sit him down. You got to say, honey, or hubby, or whatever you call him. And say, please, don't go making those statements. It may end up in the news. Don't succumb to peer pressure. It's a problem, Bahamas. We got a problem there. So that's what we're talking about today. We back about talking to pilot. I've wasted enough time, but I need to segue into this. We talking about peer pressure, Bahamas. We got big grown men succumbing to peer pressure. So God, pray that you may bless us, God, and protect us. Help the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts to always be acceptable in your sight. Oh Lord, our strength and our redeemer. In Jesus Christ, and we pray, man. Let's go to work, Bahamas. I tell you this one gonna be long, Bahamas. We starting with pilot, but first we had to start off with what's going on today. So we segue into this one. And listen to this. And me in Luke chapter 23, and we talking about peer pressure. So first, we could talk about what makes a man weak. And we already spoke about it. The fact that you allow other men to pressure you into doing things that a godly man just wouldn't do. It's as simple as that. A man who stands for something, you just wouldn't do these type of things, but you're pressured into it. And we understand, but we can talk about you anyway. It is what it is. So the simple situation is, we talk about what makes a man weak, and it's peer pressure, because that's the why. When we talk about pilot, we're going to see that pilot was pressured into all this. So we're talking about the why. And then we're going to talk about where does it come from. So where does peer pressure come from? How does it arise? And then we're going to talk about what you do to stop peer pressure and what you shouldn't do when dealing with peer pressure. So this is going to be deep, Bahamas. Let's go to work. And we're in Luke chapter 23, we only got 5 verses today. This one could be easy, Bahamas. And listen to this. And starting at verse 20. Luke chapter 23, starting at verse 20. And Pilate, therefore, willing to release Jesus, spoke again to them. But they cried, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. And Pilate said unto them a third time, Why, what evil hath he done? I have found no cause for death in him. I will therefore chastise him and let him go. But they were insistent, and it was instant, and with loud voices, requiring that Jesus might be crucified. And the voices of them and the chief priests prevailed. And that's the important part of this. And Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. So the part of this I want you to understand is, and I'll read it for you again. It says, and they were instant with loud voices, requiring that Jesus might be crucified. And the voices of the chief priests prevailed. So where does prayer pressure come from? It comes from the voices, Bahamas. It comes from the voices in your head. It comes from the voices all around you. It comes from the voices. So when we look at the police chief, it's all them voices. He had to say something. All them voices would put pressure on him. I want you to always remember that. At some point, you got up discernment of spirit. Let me go deep into this one. Because them voices, you don't know what type of voice is talking to you. Let me go deeper. Listen to this now. Listen good. You remember the words that God told Adam? What did God tell Adam? He said, who told you that you were naked? It's the reason why God asked him who. Remember now, Adam ate the fruit. But the fruit didn't tell Adam that he was naked and that nakedness was a bad thing. What I'm trying to say is, the fruit didn't tell Adam to go and hide himself. The problem is, somebody told Adam that he was naked and he needed to hide himself, and it wasn't the fruit. And what I'm trying to tell you is, it was demons talking to Adam. It was voices in Adam's head. They were putting pressure on Adam. Hide yourself. You did something wrong. You naked and you don't want God to see you naked. And that's why God said, who told you you were naked? You can't refer to a fruit and say who. That's a demon that was talking to you. So here it is. When we look at Pilate. Who told Pilate to kill Jesus? Somebody answer that. You see, you had demons, all these voices in Pilate's head. Let me read it for you again. And listen to this. And they were instant with loud voices and requiring that Jesus be crucified, and the voices of them and the chief priests prevailed. So what you have to understand is this. If you don't have discernment of spirit, you will always have pressure on you because you don't know what type of spirit that is talking to you. And most of the time, the spirit that's talking to you don't care about you. Because what we know is this. The Jews hated the Romans, and for good reason. The Romans enslaved them, so they had a reason to hate them. But the fact of the matter is, you had Pilate listening to people who hated him. And what I'm trying to tell you is, you got some demons who hate you more than people. So when you got a mixture of demons talking in your ear, and a mixture of people who don't care for you talking in your ear, the only thing you could feel is pressure. Let me go deeper with this one, Bahamas. Look at what it said, Bahamas. It said it was instant. Their voices were instant. What do we see today? Everything is instant. It's that WhatsApp. Bahamas, as much as I love WhatsApp, I can't stand WhatsApp to a degree. Why? Because the instant someone sends you a message on WhatsApp, they expect you to answer. Bahamas, what's going wrong with this world? Sure, I may look at the message, but I don't feel like dealing with that right now. I don't want to deal with that. A lot of times you see a message from somebody, you say, you know what? I can't even talk to you right now. I'm in the middle of something. Let me tell you what I used to do, Bahamas. This is how bad it is get. Sometimes, Bahamas, I take my phone and I give it to any one of my children because all of them know. When they're in the middle of watching Peppa Pig or they're in the middle of watching Paw Patrol on Daddy's phone and they see that incoming call, only thing they know is to press that red button. Ignore. And they used to be sending everybody the voicemail. And I used to have an excuse because see, the children can do what I can't do. They can send anybody the voicemail. They don't care if that's a work call, a business call. They don't care who that is. When you pop up in the middle of Paw Patrol, you see that's where they get their peace from watching cartoons. So when you pop up and they're watching YouTube, all they do is press that red button, ignore. So I just give them the phone and let them ignore a bunch of people for me. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, Bahamas. That's how you deal with these voices. So let me read this for you and then we're going to go deeper in this one. And it says, and Pilate said unto them a third time, why, what evil hath he done? I have found no cause of death in him. I will therefore chastise him and let him go. But then the pressure came, and listen to the pressure, and they were instant with loud voices, requiring that Jesus be crucified, and the voices of the chief priests prevailed. So this is what I want you to understand, Bahamas. It's here's the situation. I can't tell you who to listen to, and I can't tell you who not to listen to. I can't even tell you what to listen to, because half of the time it's demons or the devil whispering in your ear. In fact, the reason why I wouldn't even tell you who or what to listen to is because most people have to tell them, don't even listen to yourself. When you go talk to yourself, stop listening to yourself. Go talk to somebody. Talk to somebody else, but don't do the same thing you've been doing. See, you've been telling yourself what to do for a long time, and it's been leading you nowhere. So don't even listen to yourself. So to advise somebody on who to listen to and who not to listen to, you would actually have to tell that person, don't even listen to your own mind. Whatever you was thinking, I just don't do it. That's how bad it is, because you were morally bankrupt. Your moral compass is off. Don't listen to yourself. And why am I saying this? Because the best advice I could give you is not who to listen to or who not to listen to. The best advice I could give you in all this to help you relieve this pressure, the best advice I could give you is always listen to the real meaning of something. It's as simple as that. You can hear a lot of stuff, but always listen to what it is really saying to you. What does it really mean? Let me explain what I mean. If you look at Pilate, what you would learn about Pilate is Pilate committed suicide. He killed himself. That's how Pilate ended his life. It was a coward's way out. Pilate killed himself. He committed suicide, Bahamas. So what did it really mean? Or what were the people really saying to Pilate? Because see, that's the key to life. You may not know who to listen to, but at least whatever you listen to, whatever it is, whether it's the TV, the newspaper, or somebody, listen for what they're really saying to you, or listen to the meaning behind what they're saying to you. So if Pilate committed suicide, what were the people really saying to him? What they're really saying to Pilate was this: buddy, if you could kill an innocent man, if the voices in your head could get you to kill an innocent man, then those exact same voices could get you to kill yourself. It's as simple as that. There's no difference. The exact same voices that could get you to kill an innocent man could get you to kill yourself. Think about it, Bahamas. If you have a man, he cheating on his girlfriend. He been cheating on his girlfriend for their entire relationship. And then all of a sudden, he tell himself, you know what? When I get married, I can stop cheating. That even makes sense. You've been doing this for years. How is it that all of a sudden now you put a ring on this woman's finger, you can stop listening to them voices in your head? It don't work like that. You got to go to God about that. That's why I'm saying, whenever you hear something, no matter where it comes from, listen to the real meaning behind it. And what I'm trying to tell you is, you listen to the implications, or you look at the implications. Or what is it that I'm listening to? What does this really mean? And that's how you deal with prayer pressure. That's how you understand prayer pressure. Because prayer pressure comes from them voices. Listen to what these people say to you. Do they really care for me? And if they don't care for me, then what they're telling me doesn't even make sense. All right, Bahamas. I'm beating a dead horse. So we understand why people do what they do. A lot of it isn't because they're bad men. They're not bad men. The police chief didn't want to lie to us. They don't put that on the front page. But he was pressured. Someone told him to say that. He might have told himself to say that. He pressured himself for saying that. But I need to keep this job. I got to say something. Say, hey, let's say this. Hey, so that's what he said. So he was pressured into this. And now what do we understand? What we understand is, when dealing with prayer pressure, it comes from the voices in your head. And it comes from the voices of the people around you. That's why they have cyberbullying. Cause people to kill themselves all over the world. They're getting bullied online because of the pressure, because of the voices, because they listening to people. And like my little kids, they don't know how to press that red button. Ignore. Ignore, ignore, ignore. I used to do it all the time, Muhammad. I look at the WhatsApp and I say, you know what, I've been dealing with that today. I'll see you tomorrow. People just get mad. But I just say get time for it. And now let's talk about how to really deal or how to answer prayer pressure. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at how Jesus did it and we're going to look at how Pilate did it. Let's look at how Pilate did it because Pilate did it the wrong way. And listen to this now. We can make this one quick. In Luke chapter 23, and Pilate therefore, willing to release Jesus, spoke again to them. But they cried, saying, crucify him, crucify him. And Pilate said unto them a third time, why? What evil hath he done? I have found no cause for death for him. So here it is. What's the first sign that you're dealing poorly with prayer pressure? The first sign is this, Muhammad. When you find yourself repeating yourself. Because what that does is suck your energy. Muhammad, you don't need nothing to suck your energy. Life is too hard. You don't need nothing taking up your energy. But so if you got to repeat yourself over and over again, think of it like this. Let's say you're in a relationship. A sign of a weak relationship is if you got to keep on telling your partner the same thing over and over and over again like a child. If you got to do that, something wrong with that relationship. It's a weak relationship. A sign of a weak relationship with a child or weak parenting. If you got to tell this child the same thing over and over again. Clearly, as a parent, you're doing something and it's weak. You're not getting through to that child. You got to find a different way to get through to that child. Because you're repeating yourself over and over and over again. So when we look at this, when we look at Pilate, it said he spoke to them again and then he spoke to them a third time. So what is it saying here? He has a weak mentality. Pilate has a weak mentality. What's a weak mentality? When you're indecisive. When you question yourself. And even when you make a decision, you still overthinking and say, boy, I wonder if I made the right decision. So here we see a weak mentality from Pilate. All right, now, what's the second sign of how not to deal with pressure? Look at what it says. It says, Pilate asked them, what did Pilate say? I read it word for word. What evil hath he done? Bahamas. When you're dealing with those voices and they're putting pressure on you, it makes no sense to argue with a fool. It makes no sense to ask a mob. What evil had Jesus done? It makes no sense. You never argue with a fool. And look what else it says. It says, I have found no cause of death in him. Now, Bahamas, if Pilate is admitting that he has found no cause of death in Jesus or for death for Jesus, then why is he asking them more? What evil has Jesus done? You can't argue with a fool. So that's the second thing, or the second weakness, or the second way we can look and see, all right, this is how not to deal with pressure. So the first one is, and it's simple, don't repeat yourself. You find yourself doing something over and over and over again, it ain't making no sense. You sucking your energy. The second thing is, when you see yourself arguing with a fool, you never argue with a fool. And what's the third thing? Look at what it says. I will therefore release him and let him go. So here it is. Pilate is saying, this is what I will do. I will release Jesus and I will let him go. A sure sign of weakness, or how you know you're not dealing with prayer pressure, is when you break your word. Never allow nothing to make you break your word. It's a mind. That's the only thing you got in this world is your word. And Pilate said, I will release Jesus and I will let him go. Stand on your word. So here we see how you poorly deal with prayer pressure. And I'll go through those three things again. Number one, you find yourself repeating yourself. You're just talking and talking and talking and talking. That don't make no sense, Palm, but you're sucking your energy. Number two is when you find yourself arguing with a fool. If there's one thing you don't do is try to convince a fool of nothing. That don't make no sense. And then number three, and this is one of the most important ones. If you say something that mean it, if you're Pilate and you say, I found no cause to kill this man, and therefore I will release him and let him go, then stand by your word. Now, let's talk about how you do this the right way. And that's how we can end this. I can take my time on this one, Bahamas. Look at what Jesus did. And this is how you deal with prayer pressure. There was a lot of pressure on Jesus. Remember now, Jesus was going to the cross. But before Jesus went to the cross, what did Jesus decide to do? Jesus decided to meet with the 3 rulers over Israel. He decided to meet with Herod, King Herod, who was the ruler or the king over Israel. He decided to meet with Pilate, who was the governor over Israel. And he decided to meet with Caiaphas. So he decided to meet with the 3 leaders. Those were the last 3 people he decided to meet with before he went to the cross. And why did Jesus do this? Because what you're going to see is when Jesus met with those 3 men or those 3 leaders, is one thing that he did. To all 3 of them is one thing in common. And what is it that Jesus did? Let me show you that Bible. When Jesus met with Herod, when Jesus met with Caiaphas, when Jesus met with Pilate, it's the one thing or the one answer that he gave all of them. And that answer was silence. Bahamas, I can explain to you in a minute. What I want to say is this. When dealing with a fool, and a fool is anybody who putting undue pressure on you. I ain't talking about your wife who tell you go get a job or go wash your dishes. That's fine. I ain't really undue pressure. She's trying to better you. But I'm talking about anybody who trying to bring your stress level up. Who trying to lead you to teeth. Them type of people. Who make you go to the public and lie. So anybody who trying to kill you with pressure. What you're going to understand is the best answer to give a fool is silence. And that's what we saw Jesus give Pilate. What happened? Pilate said, from where art thou come from? Because Pilate was afraid. Pilate had heard that he was the son of God. He said, where did you come from? And Jesus just kept silent. And then Pilate asked again, where did you come from? And he said, don't you know that I have the power to release you? And that's the only response that Jesus gave him. Jesus said to him, you will have no power unless given to you by my Father, the one up above. Else you would have no power over me. But Jesus went silent. He stopped answering Pilate. You had King Herod. They say King Herod marveled because Jesus didn't say anything to Herod. When he went in front of Herod, Herod wanted to see a miracle. Jesus didn't even talk to him. They taunted Jesus. They ridiculed Jesus. They beat Jesus. But he didn't even talk to Herod. And then you had the high priest Caiaphas. What happened with Caiaphas? Caiaphas asked about his disciples. He asked about his doctrine. And what did Jesus say? Jesus said, listen to me. While I was out in the world, nothing was hidden. Everything was open to you. You could have heard whatever you wanted. And Jesus refused to answer him. And that is how you deal with prayer pressure. You press the red button, that ignore button. You just don't answer them voices. I ain't talking to the devil. You can't sit down and argue with the devil. You can't sit down and argue with demons. You can't sit down and argue with family members. You can't sit down and argue with the people at work. Forget about it. You can't argue with a fool. What you do is you go silent. Because the best way to answer a fool is through silence. Always remember that. And what's the second thing I always want you to remember? Is to always listen. But what you're listening for is the true meaning of what's being said to you. There's nothing wrong with listening. Always be open to listen. But I'm listening for the meaning. So if I look at that paper, what does that mean? Murders or whatever, crime down 28%. What does that mean? That means that man fighting for his job. That's it. That's the only thing that's telling me, because it's sure telling me I'm safer. I know, telling me to move to the islands, move to the family islands, but so anyway, Lord, pray you may bless us, guide us, protect us, help us in all things, Heavenly Father, not to succumb to prayer pressure. So always know that through Christ anything is possible and to never fail, man. In Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.